ready to consider the fiscal year 2024 budget of the following agencies: Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, Authority of Freeport Area of Bataan, Philippine Center for Economic Development, and Philippine Racing Commission. So we will just make an omnibus approval later. Kaya nga po pinaupo ko na kayo sabay-sabay. So we will be faster, no? Kaysa naman pa isa-isa pa. So we hope to terminate this hearing by 12 o'clock, no? Before lunch, dapat natapos na po tayo. Kasi wala kaming pampakain. Hindi, meron naman, pero we will target by 12 o'clock, okay? So may I ask the committee secretary to acknowledge the resource persons from the said agencies.
Thank you, sir. We would like to acknowledge the presence of our guests from the following agencies. Authority of the Freeport Area of Bataan, we have Administrator Muhammad Hussein Pangandaman. Maria Lourdes Herrera, Deputy Administrator for Support Services. Mr. Percival Peralta, OAD Group Head. From the Philippine Racing Commission, we have Mr. Aurelio De Leon, the Chairman, Mr. Ronald Corpus, Executive Director 3, and John Edward Timbol, Budget Officer. From the Philippine Center for Economic Development, we have Maria Joy Brenica, their Executive Director. And from the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, we have their Chairman and Administrator, Mr. Jonathan Tan. Attorney Ramon Agregado, Senior Deputy Administrator for Support Services. Attorney Martin Christopher Roman, Deputy Administrator for Port Operations. That's all, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, our committee secretary. I'll just give my opening statement and probably ask the different agencies for their presentations. In this order, SBMA, AFAB, PSED, and then PhilRacom. Okay? So, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Una po sa lahat, ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa lahat ng dumalo sa committee hearing na ito upang pag-usapan at suriin ng mabuti ang budget proposal ng Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, Authority of Freeport Area of Bataan, Philippine Center for Economic Development, and Philippine Racing Commission. Ang mga ahensyang ito ay binuo upang maging kanang kamay ng ating gobyerno ng mandato na paano na rin ang iba't ibang lugar at iba't ibang mga sektor nito para ito ay maging self-sustained, industrial, commercial, lalo na po ang SBMA at AFAB at investment center na makapagbibigay ng trabaho at oportunidad sa inyong mga lugar. As your center, it is my job to make certain that our public funds are allocated evenly and in a manner that best serves the interests of our citizens. Kung kaya't kinakailangan masiyasat na maayos ang proposal ng iba't ibang ahensya para maitukoy ang kaungkupan at pagiging epektibo ng proposed budget. As you delve into the details of the proposal, let us collectively work towards a comprehensive understanding of the proposed budget and its alignment with our mission to also attract and promote productive investments. Magsimula na po tayo. So the Chair would like to acknowledge the Chair of the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, Mr. Jonathan Tan. Sir, for your presentation, you now have the floor.
Good morning, Senator Ejercito, and to the rest of their panels. We're from Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, and we prepared a presentation to be delivered by Attorney Monch Agregado.
Yes, Attorney Agregado, please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. In as much as you were given only 5 minutes for our presentation, we'd like to just give a very brief report focusing on our performance in 2022 and our budget request for 2024. Next slide, please. Your Honor, I'm happy to report to you that 2022 was the best year of SBMA in terms of revenues. Last year, we hit our record 4.02 billion pesos in overall revenues, which was very surprising even for us because coming out of the pandemic, we were surprised at the increased port volumes and investments that we were able to gather in 2022. For this year, 2023, we hope to approximate or at least better our revenue performance last year. Next slide, please. In terms of employment, this has been Subic's success story even from the very beginning. So as you can see, Mr. Chair, despite the pandemic in 2020 to 2021, we were able to grow our employment. And today, total employment in the Subic Bay Freeport Zone has exceeded 154,000 jobs. Next slide, please. In terms of investment, last year was also a good year for SBMA. Last year, we generated investments in excess of 50 billion pesos. This was particularly led by the investment of the American firm Cerberus, which took over the operations of the former Hanjin shipyard. Next slide, please. In terms of total tax collections in the Freeport, based on the records of the BAR, the last 4 years have been difficult in terms of the tax collections in the Freeport. And we peg this mostly as a adverse effect of the CREATE law, which lowered the income tax paid by corporations and individuals. The intent was to recover these reduced taxes with more investments, but the reductions have outpaced the additional revenue. So tax collections in the Freeport have actually decreased in the past 4 years. Next slide, please. Despite that, Mr. Chair, we've been able to continue to remit the shares of our LGU partners. Since 2011, we've collected a total of 3.9 billion pesos in revenue, which we distributed to the 8 LGUs adjacent and surrounding the Subic Bay Freeport Zone. Mr. Chair, out of the 5% tax paid by our locators, 2% is collected by SBMA and is distributed to the 8 LGUs. And so far, we've distributed 3.9 billion pesos. Next slide, please. In terms of tourist arrivals, pre-pandemic, we were doing almost 10 million visitors per year. Obviously, during the pandemic, this dropped. Last year, we almost reached pre-pandemic levels in terms of tourism arrivals at 9.8 million tourists. Hopefully, this year, we can reach our pre-pandemic levels or even exceed it. Next slide, please. In terms of dividends, Mr. Chair, since 2019, we have continuously remitted more than 1 billion pesos in dividends to the national government. And for 2022, our target dividend remittance is at 1.2 billion pesos. Next slide, please. For total contributions to the national economy, which is defined by BOC collections, BIR collections, the taxes and dividends paid by SBMA to the national government, total contribution to the local economy for 2022 has breached, it's almost 300 billion pesos, Your Honor. Next slide, please. For our budget request for 2024, can we go to the next slide, please? Our total budget request is 661 million pesos. This has been approved by the DBM, Your Honor, and already included in the NEP. A big portion of this is the continuing road rehabilitation project, which Your Honor was spearheaded several years before through your sponsorship. We continue to thank you for this, Your Honor, and we'd like to let you know that we've been continuing ever since with the end in view of rehabilitating the total road network of the Subic Bay Freeport. Also part of the 661 million pesos is the continuing rehabilitation of our port facilities and navigational equipment, both for our seaport and our airport. We also have projects for the traffic control system improvements, buildings and facilities renovation program, and the new thrust of SBMA to be a smart city, which a component of which is the continuous installation of CCTV cameras and other surveillance equipment in the Freeport. The total budget request as approved by the DBM for SBMA is 661 million pesos, already included in the NEP. Other than this, Your Honor, we would also like to request an additional, if Congress and the Senate will allow an additional budget of a billion pesos for other future projects of SBMA. Right now, Your Honor, our obligation rate is at 87% and our disbursement rate is at 92%. We're continuing to improve the absorptive capacity of our agency in terms of project completion. So for additional projects, next slide, please. Last, can we jump to the last slide? Yung last po. To be exact, an additional 936 million is requested, Your Honor, for other projects consisting of aircraft movement and area visual guidelines for our airport, detailed engineering design for SBMA buildings and facilities, construction of cargo monitoring branches and satellite offices for our seaport, and then also continuing improvements in our CCTV surveillance systems, including the establishment of a new command center. Also, the improvement of SBMA's own radio station, FM radio station, and then the improvements also in our main transportation terminal. The SBMA is embarking on a new transportation system consisting of purely electric vehicles, and we're building a new transportation terminal for that. So that is also included in our funding request. Overall, aside from the initial 661 million approved by the DBM, Your Honor, we are requesting an additional 936.5 million pesos. Yun lang po, Your Honor, and again, we'd like to thank you for your continuing support to SBMA.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask questions para at least medyo fresh pa. Then after, again, AFAB, please be ready with your presentation. Then yung PSED, and then PhilRacom. Okay? So, questions, anybody can answer. SBMA initially requested total subsidy. Tama po, 661 million to the DBM, which was granted in full under the NEP. No? Approved na po yung inyong pong request. Fiscal year 2024 proposed budget will focus primarily, again, as reported on rehabilitation of the Freeport area facilities. It will fund 2 continuing projects in 11 new projects. So what are the 11 projects that will be funded by the 661 million?
Yes. So the first is the road rehabilitation project, 112 million pesos, Your Honor.
Continuing yan, no?
Yes, continuing.
Yes.
Then also continuing is the rehabilitation of our port facilities and navigational equipment. So these consist of the rehabilitation of the navigational buoys, the upgrading of the fender system at the marine terminal. Yung pong binabangga ng mga barko pag alongside yung mga fenders. The illumination of Leyte Wharf so that we can have port operations 24/7. The construction of a temporary oil storage facility. SBMA has 7 vessels of its own, Your Honor, and we would need to dispose waste oils generated by our vessels. Also, you'd want to commission a detailed investigation of piers and wharves in the port of Subic Bay. As we reported to you earlier, one of our main ports, Alava Pier, is already severely deteriorated and we need improvements for this. And also improvements in our seaport department building. For the airport, we would have to improve our runway and safety area for better safety for incoming and outgoing flights. The third component would be the upgrades of our traffic control system. This is also a continuing project, Your Honor. The fourth component is the buildings and facilities renovation and construction program. Most of our offices, we still use the former buildings of the U.S. Navy, and these buildings were constructed in the 50s. So we are also undertaking continuous improvement on this, consisting of the renovation of Building 229. This is the main administration building. Also, the renovation of Building 309. which is intended to be a labor center training facility in cooperation with TESDA, Your Honor. So this will directly benefit Freeport workers by providing them a larger and better training facility. Also, the construction of new water tank and pump systems for our farther buildings, which are not reached by the normal water supply network. And then the fifth component is SBMA's new undertaking to transform the Freeport into a smart city. The major component of which is the installation of CCTV surveillance systems in our perimeter fences and in all roads and intersections. So the complete that would total 661.010 million pesos, Your Honor.
Okay, I think that those are really needed, no? Because especially roads, no? I also saw that yung entrance natin, yung tunnel, is already dalawa na yung tunnel natin, 4-lane total. So, we have any new roads or ito pa rin, mostly rehab na lang, no? Mostly rehabilitation. Tama? Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes, mostly rehabilitation. The new one is, as you observed, Mr. Chair, the widening of the Tipo Expressway.
Yung tipo, yeah, at least there's ano pa, may tunnel pa ron, di ba?
Yes,
Na bago. Anyway, yung support that I asked earlier, yung cruise ships, are they able to already? Are they still able to berth near the so administration building ba yung mga cruise ship natin?
If I may, Mr. Chair, we have identified po alternative ports and wharves for to accommodate cruise ships. With respect to the Alava Wharf or Alava Pier, yun po, it has been deteriorated. We need to evaluate if it needs to be fully renovated or reconstructed. However, we have already identified alternative ports, Tambasan, our container terminal, Leyte, Leyte Wharf. So we are ready to accommodate cruise ships and we have already bookings.
Is there sorry to
Mr.
cut
Chair.
you, attorney, yung wharf that Leyte wharf tawag?
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, that's
Mr.
the
Chair.
one beside the admin building. Yan ba yung malapit sa admin?
Mr. Chair, yun po yung Alava.
Alava pala.
Yun po
Okay.
yung deteriorated na po, hindi na po
Okay.
kayang.
How much would it cost para at least we can already foresee and plan? Because that's the one in front of the administration building. Maganda, Chairman, kung nandun yung cruise ship kaysa naman sa container ward.
If I may, Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
Mark.
regarding the Alava, I think I don't know if you heard about the case against Harbor Center. Harbor Center will take over the Alava port, so hindi na namin papaayos. Even there's a plan dapat yan, Mr. Chair, about JICA project. So pinakancel ko na po because iti-take over na po siya ng Harbor Center.
Oh. What's the timeline for them? Ano yung commitment nila to have it rehabilitated so that it can be very operational?
I think sa phase 2 or phase 3 po nila. So hopefully within 2 months, they'll take over the said airport, the port po.
That's very important for us to ano, at least sayang yung ano eh. One of the potential talaga ng Subic is really the tourism, especially yung cruise ships. That's why I'm asking also. That's why yung, alam ko yung, I used to defend this, no, bago ko nawala, no, yung ni-request before was the dredging of the wharf, diba? Sa agregado, tama, yung dredging so that bigger ships can be accommodated as my aircraft carrier used to dock there in front of the admin building. So ngayon, I think it's silted, hindi na natin
Yes.
kaya, no?
Yes, Your Honor. Prior to the pandemic, we were averaging 20 cruise ship visits per year. And through your sponsorship, you were able to complete the drainage of the main channels approaching Alava Pier. But in the recent years, it has become silted again. And then the pier structure itself is already
Kailangan
questionable.
continuing, no? That was how many years ago? Now you have to...
Yes, we have to continue. We have acquired our own dredging machine, so we're undergoing our own
Dredging.
dredging works. But as you correctly stated, sir, it has to be a continuing program of dredging to ensure the depth of our waters.
Tapos iba traffic control, CCTV, that's necessary. Of course, baka of course you have to make sure hindi tayo ma-invest because we need investors. Baka minsan maraming pumapasok informal settlers and the like. Yung may iba. So, kayo naman lahat to. Tsaka ibang mga may balak. But anyway, SBMA has dapat may, you have the best potential among the different dapat Freeport zones because you're complete, no? Meron tayong port, meron tayong airport. Maganda yung mga natin, yung mga tourism area. So I'm hopeful and I'm confident with in the stewardship of our chairman Jonathan Tan. Sana mabuhay muli yung Subic, no? No reason for it to lag behind others kasi kompleto kayo eh.
Yes.
May airport, may port. And imagine the last time an international a commercial plane landed was in 2011, 'di ba? Kung hindi ako nagkakamali. And then yung pandemic. So hopefully we can make use of the airport again. Sana maibalik nga kung makabalik yung FedEx at iba pang maging hub.
Yeah.
Tsaka, sige, Chairman,
Senator,
what's the plan?
yeah, okay, we're working on it. I just assumed office 4 months ago. So nakita ko rin yung problema, Mr. Senator. Now, actually, ang airport, you are right. We are now in category 6, but we're trying to improve it to bring it back to category 10. That's why, kung makikita niyo po yung mga fundings namin, more on sa airport na po. And then, gusto po rin na talaga namin buhayin because gaya ng nasabi nyo, way back talagang dyan naglaland yung may mga cargo carrier po naglaland dyan. But now, we're improving it. Actually, within the year or early next year, yung mga fire trucks, madi-deliver na. Kulang talaga ng equipments tsaka sa funding. So, medyo malaki. And then, nakafocus din
Probably
kami.
the navigational equipment.
Opo, yes.
That will
Kasama
be yun yung medyo costly.
Opo.
And we will just review. And hopefully, tignan natin kung maipasok na sa
Yeah.
DOTR sa CAAP.
Yeah.
Can probably help para mabuhay natin yung airport, no? So that well, it's another alternative. Ang dilemma lang dyan, too close to Clark and too close to Manila di ba? Ang bilis na kasi. But still, we probably can think of other ways on how it can be utilized in airport.
Yeah, with your help siguro, Mr. Senator, and we've already talked to Secretary Pangandaman of DBM, and then we also asked for her support kung pwede tulungan kami ipondohan po yung airport dahil medyo malaki po kailangan namin. Thank you.
And I'm hoping with under your leadership, maging maayos na yung no? Kasi sayang I'm happy to note that you are already reacquiring yung mga na-list na mga hindi naman ginagamit. Sayang, no? Mukhang marami nag-land banking sa mga area. Subic, Clark noon. Long-term lease pero hindi naman ginagamit. Nakikita mo mga lumang facilities na pabayaan. So I think we can put it to good use. So congratulate you early for this chairman. At least yung magandang effort to so that we can entice new investments in Subic. There's no reason kayo maiwan ng Clark Kayo may port, sila wala naman silang port, di ba? Airport, di ba? Meron, pero may port kayo, may airport, dapat ay yung mga before Subic was indeed the destination, no? Dami ang Subic Yacht Club is there. So many casinos and hotels, pero nagsarahan yung iba. So what's your plan on that? May balik ba yung yung mga hotels and other casinos so that it can attract?
Yes, actually, Mr. Senator, you're right with the issue of land banking. Yun ang unang na-notice ko nung pag-upo ko po. That's why, ginawa po namin, nag-auditing po kami. So lahat po ngayon sa SBMA, mga locators namin po na hindi nagbabayad, maraming utang, at hindi sumusunod sa development commitment po. Pina-audit ko po ngayon po dahan-dahan namin nire-repossess. And good thing po, sa ginagawa namin, magiging strict po kami, marami na po nagbabayad ngayon. That we are very, very serious. And I even talked to the President and I asked his support. Dahil sabi ko nga po, medyo marami akong makakabangga. And now, almost 10 na po nare-repossess namin. And ongoing po may mga more than 20 pa po naka-line up. Kasi, gaya ng nasabi nyo, yung issue na naiiwan po kami, dahil maraming idle properties, yung mga investors na pupunta po si SBMA, kung gusto maghanap ng property, ang sabihin ng mga account officer po namin, wala nang available. Pero, may kilala sila, yung nila land banking. So ngayon, yung mga gusto mag-land banking sa SBMA, because on what we're doing now, hindi na po nila gagawin yun because of the sobrang strict po kami ngayon. And hopefully
Well,
within...
thank you. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your efforts, Chairman Jonathan Tan. Kasi tama po yun. No? You have to audit yung mga hindi nagbabayad. Pangalawa, those that did not commit for their development kasi naka-idle, ang daming sayang, nakikita ko yan eh. Because I'm a regular visitor of Subic. Sundays, minsan nagmumotor ako dyan, in and out lang, breakfast, nagbabike, no? So I can see yung mga idle lands or facilities na nabubulok lang, sayang. So I think that's a good start, no, in your incumbency. So hopefully you can turn it around, Subic again, no, that make it more vibrant again. Dapat siya maging destination eh. Back in the 90s, nung bago Subic Bay, talagang yan ang pinupuntahan eh. So I think you have all the factors, ports, airports, beautiful area, may mga forest. If you can invite, sabi ko, I think you have plans of bringing in amusement park, Disneyland, may mga water, yung Ocean Park, di ba?
Outlet store po.
Outlet stores. Dati daming duty free dyan eh, di ba? So,
Yung investor po, Senator, ang plano po niya is like sa Woodbury po sa States. Yan ang ganong outlet po ang niya. Like Gotemba in Japan. That's the plan po of the incoming investors.
okay, so we're confident we will try to scrutinize yung additional yung 900. So, Mr. Agigado, para sa yun, yung more of also for navigational equipment,
Yes, the bulk of the
infra
additional
also.
for the airport,
Airport.
Mr. Chair. New navigational equipment, it's there, it's in their screen. Yung
So you intend to, hindi ba dapat kaap yan? We will try to, dapat kaapan na gano'n yan, di ba? Nung nagme-maintain ng control towers.
Yes, CAAP maintains our control tower. We have a MOA with CAAP. But ang interesting lang po, Mr. Chair, Subic Bay International Airport is the only airport that is not directly under the umbrella of the DOTR because it is a department within SBMA. So we're doing our best.
So you're funding everything, lahat.
And yes,
project.
through the support of the national government as well. But as Chairman said, we want to improve our airport to Category 7 so that we can again host international commercial flights.
Okay, we'll work on that. Sige, we will try to scrutinize kung ano yung pwede ibigay. And we'll ask the other committee in the finance, or we will submit all your requests and we'll see. Kasi medyo naman tayo alam niyo naman, low fiscal space pa tayo. Still recovering from the pandemic. But I'm glad that at least you Subic, you have your own plans, no, to improve the finances, di ba? Tsaka yung mga... So, congratulations in this early. And I hope you will continue itong reforms in the SBMA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next will be Authority of Freeport Area Bataan. AFAB. Mr. Pangandaman, Mohammed Pangandaman. Sir, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Hussein Pangandaman, representing AFAB. To my left is Ms. Malu Herrera, my Deputy Administrator for Administrative Services. She will make the presentation. Thank you.
Before you continue, Mr. Hussein Pangandaman, are you the son of are you related to Congressman Pangandaman?
I'm the former Congressman Pangandaman.
Ay, before, nga pala.
Tumaba lang ako, Mr. Chair, kaya hindi mo ako nakilala. We were together in the
Oo nga.
15th Congress.
Oo nga.
Classmate.
15 Congress. Oo nga.
Medyo lumusog lang. Kaya.
Oo nga, lumusot. Sorry, I didn't know. Yes, you were together in the 15 Congress.
Yes.
Si ano ang father nyo? Si...
Nasser Pangandaman.
Nasser.
Kasama rin
Of course.
natin ng 15 Congress, Mr.
Oo
Chair.
nga. But how long you been with AFAB?
4 months, Mr. Chairman.
4 months. Okay, sige.
Thank you.
Mr. Lourdes Herrera, ma'am, you have the floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. So I will be presenting in behalf of the AFAB. and in behalf of our administrator. So just a background, I think every session we're presenting that FAB has assumed the former Bataan economic zone last 2009, and just significant development is that last August 30, 2019, there was an amendment of the law which expand the powers or strengthen the powers of the FAB. So next slide. Okay. So I just want to mention the strategic direction of the FAB. Actually, as far as the new administrator is concerned, he intend to continue what has been started before. But of course, I just want to highlight the number 4 item that for the for the administration of HPP, he would like to significantly increase the number of digital-based enterprises located to AFAB as provided by its new charter RA 11453. So for the profile of AFAB and the accomplishment of AFAB, as of June 30, we have 96 operational registered enterprises, and it's still a big part of it, or a chunk of the registered enterprises, they are into manufacturing. For the nationality of the registered enterprises, it's still Filipino. The 65% is owned by are owned by the Filipinos. And next is Korean. For the employment as of June 2023, we have generated a total of 38,769 workers or employment. Nagkaroon kami ng decline last 2020 because of the pandemic, but we have slightly we are now picking up. So at present, it's 38,000. For the committed investment, this is cumulative. AFAB has generated 190. The committed investment is 190,460,605. But the total investment realized is 622,868,000. 622,868,085,509. This includes the total assets, the value of land, liabilities, and equities of the FAB registered enterprises. So we are also proud to report that as of June 30, we have already 17 FAB expansion areas since the amendment, and 11 of which are outside the main zone or outside the town of Mariveles. And out of the 17 total expansion areas, there are 10 which are operational and 7 are still non-operational. For the summary of taxes and dividends are remitted. Okay, so the total remittance to the national government as of June 2023 is 245 million. So if we are going to compare the total remitted to the national government versus the yearly remit or the equity received, we can we take pride that we have already, the return of equity is 260%. For the year 20 for FY 2024, the proposed budget allocation which we are requesting is the 140 million, and for the improvement of utilities. So the proposed projects includes the retrofitting and improvement of dam integrity, the construction of additional reservoir with roofing, upgrading of canal for phases 1 and 2, and the realignment of sewer line to main sewer line type A and B. So that's all the project included in the 140 million. So we just want to show some pictures of the project. So the first slide, Owen.
Next slide.
Next slide. Okay, so I think we're having some. Technical problems, Mr. Chairman. So actually, I have mentioned the list of the projects. So the next slides are just pictures of the projects that we are going to implement for 2024. So thank you. That ends our presentation, sir.
Okay, thank you. So just for the record, in corporate operating budget totals about 2.459 billion.
Yes.
Tama, no? Tapos, itong hinihingi nyo, yung 140 million under the NEP, this is requested by AFAB. It's really more for the way you see it, yung mga, more for water management and the sewerage, karamihan mostly. No?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's just an upgrading of our facilities.
Am I correct that meron na ba tayo? Before kasi they were asking for housing kasi marami a lot of people went to Bataan for employment, no? Dito talaga, one of the success stories. Ito dapat tingnan natin, yung Bataan na Freeport zone is a success story because a lot of people from different places came to Bataan for employment. Diba? Kaya kailangan natin ng housing dyan. What is the status? Natuloy ba yan? Nawala kasi ako ng 3 taon eh. I just want to make, alam niya, gusto ko lang what's the status? So if you will continue, ang kailangan siguro natin yan, chairman, administrator, rental housing, kasi mga temporary housing because a lot of employees are not really from there to accommodate yung mga hindi taga Bataan.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Chair. That's one of the areas that we want to address. But pre-pandemic, I believe we have more than 40,000 workers there at AFAB. But during the pandemic, it gradually decreased by 10,000, which is now around 35. But for the past few months, it increased again to 38,769.
Wow, that's good news, From
yeah.
10,000 of pandemic, now it's almost back to the pre-pandemic levels.
And with regards
38,000 na. Ngayon.
38,769 po yung workers namin.
Yeah, we want to address kasi,
Yes, the
not
housing.
all are from Bataan. So
Yes.
maraming ang dumayo dyan for employment. So we would want to put up housing there to accommodate itong mga workers. No? So ano pong status? Do we have areas? We can ask the NHA probably to look into it or they should
Yes,
for rental housing.
yes, Mr. Chairman. In fact, we have available housing inside the Freeport zone. But due to the increase of, for factory workers, medyo nagka-shortage po, admittedly.
How many Admin Hussein, how many can be accommodated by the present housing facilities?
So right now we have 239 housing units and units available. And I think we have accommodated around how many percent? 71%. So meron nung kulang na almost 30%. And I'm very fortunate that the provincial government of Bataan meron ho silang One Bataan housing project. So they're working with the National Housing Authority, and they
That's the reason I asked, because I also chair the committee on housing
yes,
and
Mr. Chair.
defense, so probably you can look at that, because again, the AFAB is one of the
Mhm.
success stories, no, na sana magaya din to ng ibang areas. How is the working relationship of AFAB with the one with Bataan provincial government? Okay naman, very good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Synergizing.
I work well with the former governor, now Congressman Abed Garcia, who was our colleague also. And si Governor Joet,
Yes.
actually yung universal healthcare, sila po yung isa sa mga pioneer. And pioneer and model, no? Kaya naging close friend, naging good friend ko na rin, because we work together for the healthcare. But also now, what they are doing in Freeport, in Bataan, is really good, no? I hope that it can be replicated in other areas. Success story talaga yan. So I hope you keep it up. So we will try to nitong mga request, no? If there's additional, I'm sure there is, to make it better. Ano pa bang tingin yung kailangan to make it even better?
Since you've mentioned housing, Mr. Chairman, hopefully you can help us with allocating funds for housing, because ito pong One Bataan housing project ng provincial government, nasa process o kami ng selection pa, so we cannot accommodate everybody. Of course, I believe you're fully aware of our situation during the when AFAB was formed way back in 2009. May mga informal settlers na ho dyan na dinatnan sila Kong Abet when it was when the law was amended, no, into which turned into the Freeport was converted into AFAB. Right now we have almost 3,000 informal settlers. So yung pinag-uusapan namin, that's why I'm in close coordination with the provincial government on how to address itong mga informal settlers. And this was the cause also of labor disputes in the past. Kaya may nag-organize. So then right now we're addressing that.
That has to be addressed, because
Yes,
one
Mr.
of the
Chairman.
siyempre mga investors are allergic to
That's
labor disputes, so kailangan
Kaya
maayos natin yan.
for the past year and during my administration, wala di ho nagkaroon ng organization ng mga ganito. And all the factory workers are in high spirits kasi wala na hong gulo na nangyayari since I assumed office, Mr.
Siguro I have two more issues na lang siguro, Admin Hussein. What are the industries or businesses you're looking at, yung target natin for expansion? Kasi may mga dyan, di ba? Marami dyan mga manufacturing, yung mga signature brands. They're still there.
Yes,
Ano yung mga signature brand na nadalo ko na yung mga factory
yes,
workers dyan?
Mr. Chair,
Michael
we're proud
Kors,
to say that
Coach.
we have Coach, Michael Kors, Kate Spade, Tory Burch.
King Spade,
Yes.
Kate Spade, Callaway,
Yes,
yung dati,
Callaway,
Papanggol,
golf
di ba?
bags.
Yes.
One of our locators are expanding. We're also will manufacture Samsonite luggages, Patagonia, Jewel. Yes.
That's great. I hope that will continue, no? Sad to say, marami na napupunta sa mga ASEAN, natin neighbors. Yung
That's true, Mr.
Vietnam.
Chairman. Yung mga
I'm hoping we get that. At least yung the AFAB, or lalo ni Freeport of Bataan, is an example that we can get them. So, ano yung ginagawa nyo na pwedeng gawin din sa iba? Lalo, especially with the China market, a lot of manufacturers are moving out. Dapat makuha natin yon. Makuha ng SBMA, makuha ng Clark, ng AFAB, instead of them going to Vietnam and other, parang naging tayo. We have to do something to make us more attractive, di ba? Bakit sila pumupunta sa Vietnam at iba sa ibang neighbors? Well, infrastructure is one. We discussed earlier. Hopefully, pag natapos na yung North-South commuter line, hopefully Subic Clark Railway, yung Bataan Bridge, we need to invest in infrastructure, but in the meantime, we have to think of innovative strategies on how we can be attractive na makuha natin yung mga manufacturing areas. The power cost is also dalawang bagay. Cost of electricity and infrastructure. Diba? Sige po, admin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you mentioned ito pong mga investments, right now, we have 7 ongoing processing of applications, and we're expecting a total investment of 1.44 billion pesos in the coming months. And also, in my 4 months of office, I have received 35 letter of intents and inquiries. So medyo trying to rejuvenate our Freeport as much as I can. No?
Thank you for that.
Months in office, medyo aggressive yung marketing namin ngayon. And not only that, since we are only focused on the manufacturing side, with the amendment of our law way back in 2019, we're also preparing for digitally based industries like blockchain, fintech, and the like, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Admin Hussein. Yung going back, yung housing for fab workers in 2021 GAA, 89.76 million, 2020, 51 million, but was discontinued because of the bayanihan, nag-realign. So, doon na lang tignan natin, no? So, how much is needed additional budget? Para lang we have an idea. Sa housing or whatever infra. Can you just submit kung meron kayong to the committee if you're not ready, or just a ballpark figure?
Mr. Chairman, as per assessment of the DPWH, immediately we need around 70 million for one building, Mr. Chairman.
For a building. Para sa admin building, what?
For the housing ho.
For the housing.
Yes, since we have konti na lang yung natitirang lupa, ginagawa ho namin parang condominium.
High rise,
type.
medium rise
Yes,
housing.
Medium rise, yes.
Oh, hindi pwede talaga doon. I think we really have we need medium rise. So you need 70 million for medium rise. Probably we can ask NHA or DSUD also to work. Pero kung pwede rin naman, kaya ng Freeport AFAB. Okay, thank you. Admin Hussein, we'll just submit yung inyong pong request. We'll see. I am not gonna promise, but we will try kung ano pa. The same with the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. So next is PSED, Philippine Center for Economic Development. Sige, thank you. Sige, PSED, do you have any
Good morning.
Hi, ma'am.
Good morning,
Ready ka?
Senator. Okay.
The presentation?
Yes.
Okay,
We have
please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's with your staff. So,
Yes, just go to the gist na po. May mga...
can we move on to the fourth page, please? Okay, so the Philippine Center for Economic Development was established in 1974 by virtue of a presidential decree with the sole mission of supporting the School of Economics, UP Diliman, at UP Diliman. Okay, so can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay. The objective is really to increase the supply of economic technicians, not only in the in the private sector as well as in government. And as you know, Senator, we have leading technicians, economic technicians and policymakers, all products of the UP School of Economics. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So for 2024, we will continue with our mission. Next slide, please. okay, to provide support to the UP School of Economics faculty and students. But at the same time, we would like to increase the engagement of PSED to government agencies as well as to the public at large. We have started that actually since last year. Next slide, please. Okay. So in 2022, this was an unusual year in terms of budget for us because we received around 241 million, but actually 194 million of that went to the rehabilitation of PSED buildings, which are actually almost 50 years old as the organization. We have 100% utilization of the budget. Next slide, please. Okay. As you could see, we have exceeded the number of students and faculty that were supported. Okay. So the targets were exceeded. I should mention that we did not receive any support for training and extension services, which is one of the mandate of PSED. But nonetheless, we have funded that using our corporate funds and had several training programs and policy forum. Next slide, please. For 2023, okay, the budget is a lot smaller than 2022 because this time this is just support for teaching and research of the UP School of Economics. So it's down to 37 million pesos, of which we have obligated about 85% as of August 31, and of which 73% have already been disbursed. Next slide, please. Again, this slide shows that we have been exceeding our targets in terms of the number of faculty and students that were reached. And again, in this slide, you will see that despite the fact that we have not received any funding for training and extension services, PSED has undertaken those activities. Okay, for 2024, okay, next slide, please. Okay, the DBM approved only tier 1 items, and that's about 28 million, which is almost like the budget that we received or they have approved in last year, 2023, for 2023. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, that 28 million consists of support to teaching and support to research. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now, Senator, we would like to request once again the support of the committee, the Senate, to augment the budget that we got from that was approved by the DBM. As in last year, we asked for the committee's support to other items for teaching and research that were not funded by DBM. This included purchases of software and databases which are needed for teaching and research, as well as funding visiting professors who are international experts. Okay. At the same time, for next year, we hope that the committee would consider providing this time funding for training and extension services, as we have actually reached out to faculty members of state universities as well. Not only that, not only in Metro Manila, but all over the country. And we have reached out to many government agencies, and I hope they have benefited from the several activities that we have been undertaking since last year. We were also hoping that the committee would consider providing us with some support for gas. That would include payment actually to our auditors, which has reached 1.5 million. You know, Senator, the revenue of PSED comes only from interest earnings of endowment, and our endowment is just about 100 million. And so with about 4 million revenue a year and 1.45 million payment to COA. We definitely need a lot of support. So in total, okay, we're requesting additional budget of 17 million. Next slide, please. That would bring the total budget needed by PSED for 2024 to about 45.3 million. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Maria Joy Abrenica, the Executive Director of PSED. Last year, ano po yung budget utilization nyo? How was it?
Yeah, it's almost the same as the one that was approved by DBM, and your committee granted us another 10 million.
Now, how was the utilization po? Ilang percent po?
As of August 31, we have already obligated 85%,
Wow,
of which 72% have been disbursed.
okay. So you're asking for 40
Uh,
yung additional aside
Yes,
from
yes.
the NEP approved.
Yes, Senator. I must also mention that next year is the 50th anniversary of PSED.
So most of your expenses go to yung mga teaching aids, no? Software improvement, upgrades, mga visiting professors, no? Parang doon na pupunta research. Actually, okay lang yan because I think we really have to invest on R&D. Yun ang kulang sa atin eh. But this time, I think your agency is mostly for teaching and research. Yung mga additional funding support that you're requesting.
You're right po, Senator. I must also say po that, Senator, the executive officers of PSED are not receiving any salary. And so the expenses of PSED are really mostly in support of the UP School of Economics.
Talagang support ng PSED. How many faculty total students under PSED?
Okay, the regular faculty is around 17 at the moment. Two of them are now in secondment with NEDA and previously with the Department of Finance. But we have been able to get lecturers, visiting professors to
So most
augment
are-
our teaching.
Most of the NEDA come from PSED and UP School of Economics.
I would say a huge, significant proportion, not only at the higher level, but also at the
This
middle.
former USEC Shelo, did she come from Shelo Magno? Came from
Yes, she
PSED?
is the associate professor of the UP School of Economics.
Yeah, because I work with her and she's a very good, I would say a very capable and undersecretary, although cut short, but she helped me a lot when I was sponsoring one of the measures. So to put on record, hindi po totoo na I don't agree na panay forum po. No? She was really working for the military and uniform personnel pension, also for the automatic income classification for LGU. Siya po yung nag-backstop sa akin. So she is a product of PSED?
She is a product of the UP School of Economics, and
Philippine School of Economics,
she used to be the college secretary of the UP School of Economics, and at the same time, division chief of PSED.
So that means you are producing very good and capable products, no? Economists. And I attest to that. I was able to work with her.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Okay, how many students? So 17 faculty, full-time. Students naman po, ilan?
We have about 500, that includes graduate students.
500 including graduate students, graduate school. Okay, at least most of NEDA and the DOF come from UP School of Economics. So at least it's quite expensive for but I think it's worth it. So okay, so we will try to do our best, no, to try to get the additional. Just send to the committee your request.
Thank you, Senator.
And congratulate PSES, and there's no unsettled suspensions, disallowances, or charges as of December 31, 2022.
Thank you po.
Okay, next, last but not the least, the PhilRacom, Philippine Racing Commission, Mr. De Leon. You now have the
Morning,
floor, the chairman.
Senator KB. No? First of all, we'd like to thank you for giving us our desired budget for last year. Senator, for the background, no? For the last 18 years before pandemic, Philippine Racing Commission, the horse racing industry, generate an average of 1.2 to 1.5 billion per year. No? After pandemic, the good senators or the lawmakers provide us of enough budget for us to recover, and now we are on the recovery period. We're able to to bring back the 10 to 12,000 direct and indirect employment. Last year, we sell 3.2 billion last year, and this year we project around 3.9 billion this year. For the projection for 2024, we are projecting 4.2 billion with only one racetrack, but the other racetracks will open by July of next year. So we might hit the 5 billion mark by next year. So gentlemen, my executive director here, Senator, will present the presentation of the Philippine Racing Commission. Thank you very much.
Hey, go ahead, Mr. Corpus.
Good morning po, Sir Chair. In behalf of the Philippine Racing Commission. All right. So again, good morning. Just to highlight, this is our financial performance for 2022. Our total obligation is at 90%. Next slide, please. Right. So for 2022, we had total gross sales of 784 million. Revenue, I'm so sorry. And the next slide. For 2023, we achieve, as for the first half of the year, we have 405 million in government revenue. As discussed by Chairman De Leon for 2024, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. Yes, our NEP is at 187 million 135. But we are next slide. This is the allotment for the 187, 138 for our MOE. PS is at 48 million and the capital outlay is at 210,000. So next slide, please. This is for the appropriation source. Next slide. In this case, yes, to
Senator, as you see, the budget allocated for PhilRacom in 2023 this year is 239 million. 239 million. And the budget that's being given to us by DBM this year is 189 million. As I mentioned, because of the budget gave to us for this year, we have an increase of 700 million compared to 2022. So for 2024, we are projecting 4.2 to 5 billion sales for 2024. That's why we are requesting 391 million for the year fiscal year 2024. Senator, may I add that for the first time in more than 155 years of Philippine horse racing, Mr. Senator, we experience the coming and the interest coming from investors from foreign country. The one that is being constructed in Padre Garcia today is being partnered now by a Korean group of investors. And there are a lot of other investors coming in for Philippine horse racing. As we mentioned in our last Senate hearing last year, we project this horse racing industry to be one of the top actually sports tourism game in the Philippines, like what we have in other casino and parkour, So Philippine horse racing in per se, Mr. Senator, is accepted by more than 100 countries worldwide. Hong Kong, which is comparatively lower than the Philippines in terms of number of horses, is selling $15 billion a year. So with the help of the government, we are looking for a better income for the government, a larger number of employment for the Filipino people, and at the same time to help this industry to become a sports tourism for our country, Mr. Senator. Magiging dalawa na po yung karera natin ulit sa next year. Lalabas yung happy racetrack by June or July. So we expect around 4.2 to 5 billion sales by next year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. De Leon,
Salamat po.
Chairman. So, which is the existing racetrack now? Sa Carmona ba?
Yung po sa Malbar po, Malbar, Batangas.
Malbar pala.
Opo, nag-iisa lang po yung racetrack natin at
Okay,
comparatively
dalawa.
nga, 4 na araw lang karera natin, pero nag-project kami ng 3.9 billion sales this year.
So the other one will be in Padre Garcia?
Padre Garcia, tama po, tama,
Okay.
tama po.
Padre Garcia, also in Batangas.
But there is another one applying for the third racetrack probably by next year. Also in Batangas. This will be probably financed by foreign investors. So
Third racetrack in Batangas.
yeah, another racetrack. So Mr. Senator, actually this is the right time for the government to invest in Philippine horse racing if we want to achieve that goal to make this as a sports tourism industry. Yun nga, Hong Kong, vis-a-vis, actually $15 billion yan, layo natin, Mr. Senator.
PhilAcom initially requested an amount of 391 million
Yes, sir.
for fiscal year 2024, pero ang recommended budget ng DBM is only 180 approved, 87 ba?
Opo.
So what will be the
207 billion difference po.
yung significant reduction from that level? What will be specific areas or programs within PhilAcom will be affected?
Opo, opo.
Anong
Actually,
magnitude
Mr.
dito?
Senator, what they give us last year is also 189, but we have some additions or supports from the Senate, so that make it 239 last year. For this year.
Na-increase natin ng konti.
Yeah,
no?
yes, Mr. Senator. We are very thankful to that, Mr. Senator.
So about 66% of the new appropriations of PhilAcom will be allocated to horse racing incentive program. Tama
Opo,
ba?
that goes to the prices po. Yung mga
Prices.
po, pag sabi pong prices, yan po nanggagaling ang income ng horse owners, ng breeders, ng trainers, ng jockey, ng grooms, at ng mga helpers, na exercise rider. So that is distributed po doon sa mga tao.
Pero ilan ba yung income natin? More than 3 billion that's being remitted to the national. Ilan ba yung
National government,
national government? Ilan po?
1.2 billion po. Mga
1.2 billion.
billion po.
So this is for the incentives, no?
Opo, opo.
Tanong ko lang, what are the other plans? So aside from that, you will now PhilAcom will be expecting a second race
Opo.
track in Padre Garcia.
Other plans po are actually
Online ba? Meron na ba tayong online?
meron po.
Meron
Actually,
na.
before the start of pandemic, the online betting of horse racing is Philippine horse racing is only 3%. Now we move up to 18 to 20%. Japan, which is the highest horse racing country in the world, that is selling an average of $25 billion a year, have 90% plus online betting. So we would like to achieve that goal of 90% online betting. They have 10 racetrack in Japan and only one regulators, the Japan Racing Authority.
So sino nagde-develop? May nag-develop pa ng software nyo?
Meron na
ng
po dito.
application nyo?
Meron po tayo
Application pala?
meron po. Actually, meron po dito. At patuloy po tayong nag-improve ng ating digital betting po. Approve po
Yeah,
yan.
because I'm asking because that will be a potential
Tama po.
revenue generation
Napakalaki po.
for PhilAcom.
Napakalaki po. At saka po yung PAGCOR nga, actually nag-uusap kami ng PAGCOR ngayon na kung pwede, lahat po ng PAGCOR agency will also have that off-track betting para sa karera.
Yung po we noticed that there's no funding that reflects sa digital betting.
Saan
Saan
po?
po yung sa digital betting, sa inyong applications, Saan niyo po kinukuha yun? Sa inyong revenue? Wala po sa wala po sa finance sa inyong request sa budget.
Racing Club po ang nag-invest.
Racing Club na po ang
Sila nag-invest po niya.
sila na po nag-invest.
Apo.
Hindi na
Investment
po
na Racing Club
Philacom.
yan. Out of the 0.85% that they're getting from the total sales, they're investing for that.
For the application sa lahat.
Po. Tapos isa pa po ang development na pwede mangyari this year. Actually, yung pagkuha po ng Philracom doon sa stud farm. Actually, stud farm is now being run by BAI, Bureau of Animal Industry, under the Department of Agriculture. But we already signed an agreement, Mr. Senator, that it will be transferred to Philracom by next year. So we are just waiting for the signature of our Honorable President so that stud farm will be transferred to Philracom. So breeding is another aspect of horse racing industry. So Mr. Senator, we are lucky that Philippines has that functions to breed horses. Unlike in Hong Kong and Singapore, they don't have the facilities to have breeding. Tayo, marami po tayong lupain dito. Marami sa Batangas, sa Lipa, siguro baka pwede sa Clark.
Karamihan sa Lipa, ng malamig. Yes.
Actually, may bang tatanong
So
sa
is that the reason why most of the racetracks are in Batangas?
Tama po. 99% po ng mga farm nasa Batangas po lahat.
Yeah, magkakatabi yun no? Sa
May
Lipa.
katanong nga po sa amin, Mr. Senator, actually, buti andito yung mga taga-Clark, kung pwede magtayo ng karerahan doon sa Clark. Actually kasi, may airport sila, madali daw yung transport ng mga kabayo doon, at malamig din yung panahon doon. So, depende po kung may available na 70 hectares sa Clark, baka pwede yan tayo ng karera.
Okay, yung mga sa jockeys lang, siyempre, they are also athletes, they suffer injuries. Are they being covered by Philacom or the racing clubs? Yung mga jockeys?
Apo, meron po tayo ngayon jockeys trainers funds na nasa pangalaga po namin. No? Actually, humingi po kami ng tulong sa Congress, sa Senate, para baguhin po yung mga rules na nandyan. Kasi po that rules was made more than 30 years ago. Yung po death benefits dyan, saka yung tinatawag na other benefits, mababa po masyado. Pinapa-revise na, pinapa-amend po namin sa lawmaker kung pwede. Pag na-amend po yan, bibigay po namin lahat yan. Pero nagbigay na po kami for the last 2 years, nagbigay kami ng more than 4 million yata para sa mga jockeys and trainers fund. Pero bukod po dyan, nakakakuha din po yung jockeys associations na approximately mga 3.5 million a year, at ang trainers associations naman, nagbibigay din po kami na around 4 to 5 million a year. Automatic po yan. Pag may nanalo pong kabayo, yun doon sa horse price, deducted kagad yun. Nakukuha nila yun, linggo-linggo po. Linggo-linggo na nakukuha nila. Yun ang ginagamit nilang pagpapagamot doon sa mga may sakit na mga trainers. Yung jockey po, saka trainer, wala naman po silang monthly salary. Nagde-depend po sila doon sa panalo ng kabayo. Commission lang po sila. Ganon din po yung trainers na kaya nag-aalaga ng kabayo. So,
okay. So, thank
salamat
you.
po na marami.
So, we'll do our best also to augment yung inyong
Salamat.
yung budget.
Salamat. Sana magkaroon tayo ng sa sports tourism po yung karera at matangkilik ng buong mundo.
Okay, so as promised, before 12 o'clock, we will end. I think we are 23 minutes early. So, with no more issues to be tackled and questions on the agencies considered today, the budgets of the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority, Authority of the Freeport Area of Bataan, Philippine Center for Economic Development, the Philippine Racing Commission are hereby approved by the committee and will be submitted to the plenary, subject to our discussion. Again, congratulations to all of you. This hearing is hereby adjourned.